Barbara Jordan was born in the segregated South in the 5th Ward of Houston, Texas, to a black Baptist minister and a maid in 1936. Jordan attended segregated public schools and witnessed poverty and discrimination firsthand. On May 18, 1896, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that segregation in America was constitutional. Justice Henry Billings Brown argued that as long as racially separate facilities were equal, they did not violate the 14th Amendment's guarantees of equal protection of the law. However, most African Americans knew all too well that separate was seldom equal. Many southern states enforced segregation through Jim Crow laws, which relegated all non-whites to second-class citizenship status. Barbara Jordan recalled, "I did not think it was right for blacks to be in one place and whites to be in another. There was just something about that just didn't feel right. I wanted that to change." The Jordans instilled in their daughters that nothing short of excellence was acceptable. Barbara Jordan's father remarked, "There was never any notion that we couldn't achieve because of race or poverty." Consequently, it was at Phyllis Wheatley High School where Barbara Jordan began to display her ability to lead. Barbara Jordan excelled in academics and debate. She graduated in the top 5% of her class and went on to attend the all-black Texas Southern University. While there, Barbara Jordan became a national champion debater, leading her teams to defeat such schools as Yale and Brown, and tying with Harvard University. Barbara Jordan went on to attend law school at Boston University. After graduating in 1959 and passing the bar exam in both Massachusetts and in Texas, Barbara Jordan returned to Texas, where she became the first African-American woman to serve as the administrative assistant to the county judge of Harris County. In 1960, Barbara Jordan became active in politics. She began by volunteering for the John F. Kennedy and Lyndon B. Johnson presidential campaign. Miss Jordan organized voter registration campaigns for the black constituents in the black precincts of Harris County. As a result, voter turnout was the largest Harris County had ever experienced. The success of this campaign encouraged Barbara Jordan to pursue politics. Barbara Jordan ran unsuccessfully in 1962 and 64 for a seat in the Texas House of Representatives. Undeterred, Barbara Jordan chose to run for a seat in the Texas Senate, and in 1966, Barbara Jordan became the first African American since Reconstruction and the first woman ever to serve in the Texas Senate. Jordan quickly won over the members of the Senate with her intelligence, speaking abilities, and her ability to fit into the old boys club. In 1967, Barbara Jordan received an invitation from President Lyndon Johnson to take part in discussions on housing legislation that contained civil rights components. Barbara Jordan served in the Texas Senate for 6 years. In 1972, she was elected President pro tem of the Senate, and in the tradition of the Senate, served as governor for a day on June 10, 1972. Making Barbara Jordan the first African-American woman governor in the history of the United States. In November of 1972, Barbara Jordan became the first African-American woman from a southern state to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. In the House, Jordan joined the Judiciary and the House of Ways and Means Committee. In 1974, Barbara Jordan was thrust on the scene as a staunch defender of the Constitution during the impeachment hearings of President Richard Nixon.
She said that was one of the most difficult things she had to do, was to do that impeachment speech. But simply because she was a lawyer and she knew the law, that was the only thing she could do, was to give the speech. And it wasn't, get up and do the speech kind of thing. She did a lot of research, a lot of looking, a lot of talking, a lot of probably praying.
I am an inquisitor, and hyperbole would not be fictional and would not overstate the solemnness that I feel right now. My faith in the Constitution is whole, it is complete, it is total. And I am not going to sit here and be an idle spectator to the diminution, the subversion, the destruction of the Constitution.
Her oratorical eloquence with which she displayed her intellect and integrity left everyone in awe. Consequently, Richard Nixon resigned the office of president before the committee could render its decision. In 1976, Barbara Jordan was selected by the Democratic Party to deliver the keynote address of the Democratic National Convention. Barbara Jordan was the first African American to do so.
22First met in convention to select a presidential candidate. Since that time, Democrats have continued to convene once every 4 years and draft a party platform and nominate a presidential candidate. And our meeting this week is a continuation of that tradition. But there is something different about tonight. There is something special about tonight. What is different? What is special? I, Barbara Jordan, am a keynote speaker.
Jordan's speech was the highlight of the convention and helped gain support for Jimmy Carter's presidential campaign, which he won. Additionally, May of the following year, Barbara Jordan became the first African American woman to give the commencement address at Harvard University. When Barbara Jordan left Congress in 1979 due to medical issues, she accepted a position at the University of Texas at Austin, Lyndon B. Johnson School of Public Affairs and Ethics. According to her students, Ms. Jordan always carried a copy of the Constitution in her purse. And in 1992, Barbara Jordan again gave the keynote address at the Democratic National Convention, making her the first African American to repeat as a keynote speaker.
It was at this time, it was at this place, it was at this event 16 years ago. I presented a keynote address to the Democratic National Convention.
In 1994, President Bill Clinton appointed Barbara Jordan to the Commission of Immigration Reform. In that same year, Barbara Jordan was presented with the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Clinton. On January 17, 1996, in Austin, Texas, Barbara Jordan died of pneumonia at age 59. Even in death, Barbara Jordan continued her firsts by being the first African American to be buried in the Texas State Cemetery. Barbara Jordan overcame numerous obstacles to attend college, become a lawyer, and win elected office during a period in history when African Americans, as well as women, were being oppressed. As a senator and as a congresswoman, Barbara Jordan sponsored bills that advocated for the poor, the disadvantaged, and people of color.
She wanted everybody to have a place to live. She wanted everybody to be able to vote. And she just wanted people to mainly get along.
Additionally, as a congresswoman, Barbara Jordan sponsored legislation to broaden the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to cover Mexican Americans in Texas and other southwestern states, and to extend the law's authority to those states where minorities had been denied the right to vote or had their rights restricted by unfair registration practices such as literacy tests. In light of this expansion, today, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 protects the voting rights of U.S. service members and veterans, individuals with disabilities, language minorities, elderly Americans, and college students. Barbara Jordan's accomplishments and historical political career have paved the way for African American women in the world of politics, including Texas Congress members Sheila Jackson Lee and Eddie Bernice Johnson, as well as countless women of color in the other states. Ms. Jordan's oratorical eloquence, charismatic leadership style, unwavering integrity, and dedication to public service enabled her to touch many lives.
If Barbara Jordan was still alive and would still be in politics, all the things that's going on now would not be going on.